In this video, I'll be sharing with you how to cut this stylish underbust dress with gathers. So if this is something you like, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button. Let's dive right into today's video. So now to start, here is my pattern paper, which I've gone ahead to mark out my basic measurement, which is my shoulder to bust, under bust and waistline. So another thing you need to take note is the full length of your dress. So now let's say the full length of this dress is 50 inches and you're going to go ahead to subtract the upper part, which is your shoulder to waist. The remaining part of this dress will now be the gathers or gathered area of the dress. Next, you're going to mark your shoulder divided by 2. From that point, you're going to come down by 1 inch for your shoulder slope or shoulder slant. Go ahead to take your ruler place and draw out your shoulder slope just the same way I mentioned. Now you're going to find your chest line, which is also your armhole line. To do that is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Mine gave me 7 inches and I made a mark. I'll go ahead to place my ruler and I will draw this out. Draw out a straight line on that point. So after I'm done marking that, I'll mark back what I have on the shoulder, place my ruler and I'll draw out a straight line. Go ahead to divide what you have here into 2 by folding your tape and mark. Come out by half inch. The chest line, you're going to mark your bust circumference divided by 4. Now you're going to place your curved rule, connect from this point to this half inch and to the upper part of your pattern. So after you're done marking this, you want to go ahead to mark your dart. And to start marking your dart, you're going to mark your nipple to nipple divided by 2 and you mark and place your ruler to connect a straight line. So you also want to determine how high you want the neckline to be. So for this dress, you can use 1.5 inches or 2 inches. This totally depends on what you want to use, but whatever you're using should not be too high because there's an additional cup at the upper part of your pattern. Now I'm going to connect, that is reconnect my nipple to nipple line. Next step, I'll be taking a dart intake of 1 inch on both sides. So if you're a plus size or you're a little busty, you should go ahead and use 1.5 inches on both sides. So after I'm done marking this, you want to turn your ruler this way, come down a bit by half inch and connect. Also connect at the other side of your pattern. So after you're done marking, go ahead to mark your basic neckline of 3 by 3 inches. So I'm just using this as a guide to draw out the shoulder dart that I'll be using on this pattern. Now I'm going to go ahead to divide the remaining part of my shoulder into 2, fold my tape and I will mark. Now I'll go ahead to reconnect what I have from the bust to that point. Now for my dart intake at the shoulder, is either you mark half inch on both sides or you can just go ahead and take 1 inch at one side of your shoulder dart. Now I'll reconnect it to my pattern at the bust area and I'll also reconnect this at the other side of my pattern. After I'm done marking this, I'll go ahead to mark my bust circumference divided by 4. Now I'm going to pick the dart I have here and I will go ahead to add my sewing allowance. At the under bust, you're going to divide your under bust measurement by 4. Measure this dart intake you have here, replace and add your sewing allowance. On the waistline, you're going to mark your waist circumference divided by 4. Measure the dart intake, replace and go ahead to add your sewing allowance. After you're done marking, go ahead to connect your pattern. So this is what you'll be having. And the next step now is to work on the lower part. So there's a slight basque on the waistline. You can come down by 1 inch or 1.5 inches and reconnect it this way. So while reconnecting, you also want to go ahead to blend in your dart. So also note, this dart that you're marking here is not inclusive in the length of the dress because this basque area is an addition only to one side of the pattern, which is the front. So your actual measurements still remain your full dress length minus your waist measurement. So that is how to get the gathered area of your pattern. So I'll go ahead and connect what I have here and then go ahead to blend it out to what I have on this side. So if you don't want to use that measurement you have at the shoulder, you can extend this point or increase the shoulder measurement you have. So I'll just go ahead and shade out my dart. Now you want to draw out your cup and you also want to decide how high your cup will be. So I'll blend in what I have here and I'll extend this to the side. So now after I'm done marking this, I'm going to also put a pattern paper underneath this pattern, and I'll go ahead to trace out the upper part of this cup from the lower part. So it's more like we have a bustier pattern underneath the dress, or you can even use a corset pattern for this. Next is to mark your bust dart, and to get your bust dart is the difference between your shoulder to waist in front and your shoulder to waist at the back. My shoulder to waist in front is 17 inches. My shoulder to waist at the back is 15 and a half. So if you take out 15 and a half from 17 inches, you have 1.5. So that is how I got my bust dart, which I reconnected. So right now, what I'm going to do is to go ahead to cut out this side, and before cutting out, I'll blend here up to make sure that what I have on the bust area and the under bust area blends together before you can go ahead to cut out your pattern. And while cutting out this pattern also, another important part is, if you don't have a tracing wheel, you have to like place another pattern paper underneath. So most times when I use a tracing wheel, I get a lot of questions about that. So I'm going to be placing a pattern paper underneath it so that this method will be easier for everybody to understand. So I'll just go ahead to cut out the unnecessary part of this pattern, which I will not be using. Next step is to go ahead and place another pattern paper underneath it, which I'll go ahead to pin down and we'll be tracing it out. So while tracing out this part of this pattern, you have to go ahead to pay attention, because you really need to know how I cut this part out. So you're going to cut out your under bust. Now I'm going to go ahead to cut out this part that has the cup, and then chop out the excess on the dart area. Blend up your cup this way, raise it up, and also cut out this side. Now I will now go ahead to cut my pattern this way. So because I've already cut out the under bust, I can now cut out the dart at the center. So after cutting out, this is what I have. I'll go ahead and I will unpin my pattern, and I'll be showing you what it looks like. So this is the part, the bustier part that is on top, and this is the under bust bustier that is beneath it. So I'll just go ahead to tape it up so that it will look similar to what we have on the thumbnail, and it will be easier for you to understand. So let's say here is the under bust bustier part we have. Now this part will now be on top of the dress this way, and you now have the cup popping up at the upper part. So for my back pattern, this is what I have. I've gone ahead to mark out my basic measurement. So also you want to mark out a zipper area. So I marked out the chest line and all the other part just like we did for the front. Also remember, the shoulder to waist at the back is 15 and a half. Now you want to go ahead and mark your dart, which is your nipple to nipple divided by 2 mark. Place your ruler and connect. Also note that all your measurement is starting after the zipper line of the dress. Come down by 1 inch at this point and mark ½ inch at both sides. Now I'll go ahead to connect this down and also connect this to the other side of the pattern. Now you want to insert your measurement. You're going to mark your bust circumference divided by 4 and add your sewing allowance, the same sewing allowance you used for the front. Here you're going to mark your waist circumference divided by 4. Measure this dart intake you have here, replace and add your sewing allowance. So you also want to go ahead to connect. So here you can come in by 1.5 inches or whatever that is left on the shoulder of the front part. Just make sure the shoulder of the front and the back is the same. So come down by ½ inch on the chest line and reconnect. Now the next step you're going to take is to go ahead to cut out your pattern, and you're going to also mark your zipper bulge. So for your zipper bulge, you can go ahead to replace whatever you take out at the zipper to the front, to the side part of the pattern. So after I'm done cutting out, this is what my back pattern looks like. The next step I'm going to take is to go ahead now to take out the zipper bulge. Mark ½ inch at the lower part, go ahead to cut it out. So for this that, you can go ahead to blend it out, or you can just sew it while you're making your dress. So for the lower part of this dress, remember it's a gathered dress, and to get the lower part is to get your gown full length. And after getting your gown full length, let's say it's 50 and my shoulder to waist in front is 17 inches, so you're now going to go ahead to take out that 17 inches from 50. So what you have left, you're going to go ahead to use it to cut at least up to 3 to 4 yards, which you use to create a gathered effect at the waistline of the dress.